Conquer the world on Monday. Can't get out of bed by Friday. And then, before you've even caught your breath, back up again. If your moods are moving that fast, a blur of highs and lows with barely any solid ground in between, you may have heard the two words that frightened me the first time I heard them too: rapid cycling. And your mind probably went straight to the worst questions. Does this mean my bipolar is worse than everyone else's? Does it mean the medication is never going to work? Does it mean I'm going to be like this forever? Hold on to that last one, because by the end of this video, I'm going to answer it directly. And the answer is not the one your fear is bracing for. Here's where we're going. First, what rapid cycling actually is, because there's a huge misconception making people panic for no reason. Then the 4 hidden engines driving the speed, and one of them is a culprit almost nobody suspects, because it's often handed to you as the cure. And then the part that matters most, a specific brake pedal strategy you can start using this week. I'm Clara from Bipolar Clarity. Let's take a deep breath and slow the pace. Let's start by defining it, because this misconception does real harm. When people say, I'm rapid cycling, they often mean, I cried at breakfast, snapped at lunch, laughed at dinner. That is exhausting, but clinically, that is not rapid cycling. That's mood lability. Rapid cycling has a strict definition: 4 or more distinct mood episodes in a single year. Not moody days, full episodes. A depression lasting at least 2 weeks. A manic or hypomanic episode lasting days. Or a mixed state where both hit at once. Between them, you might get a stretch of calm, or you might slam straight from one pole to the other. Why does the distinction matter this much? Because if you treat ordinary daily mood swings with the heavy machinery meant for clinical rapid cycling, you can make things worse instead of better. Getting the label right is how you get the treatment right. So why does a brain start cycling this fast? Researchers use one word: kindling. Picture a campfire. The first time, it's all effort. Paper, kindling, a careful flame just to get the logs to catch. But once that fire is roaring, you can toss anything on it and it catches instantly. Your brain can work the same way. Early in the illness, it might take a major life blow, a divorce, a job loss, to set off an episode. But every untreated episode wears the path a little deeper. The brain gets sensitized. And eventually it can start an episode with no outside trigger at all. The fire lights itself. That is exactly why getting on top of this early matters so much. You want to interrupt the kindling before the fire becomes self-sustaining. So what keeps feeding that fire? 4 hidden drivers. And I want you holding your own life up against each one as we go. Driver 1. The culprit almost nobody suspects, because it's often handed to you as the cure, the antidepressant. For decades, the logic was simple. Depressed? Here's an antidepressant. But in a bipolar brain, an antidepressant on its own can be like pouring rocket fuel into a lawnmower engine. For a real share of people with bipolar disorder, taking one without a solid mood stabilizer underneath does 2 things. It can flip you straight up into mania, the switch, and it can shorten the gaps between episodes, winding the whole cycle tighter and faster. So if you're on an antidepressant and your cycles feel like they're speeding up, that is a conversation to have with your prescriber soon. Never stop at cold turkey. That can be dangerous. But ask the question out loud. Could this medication be part of what's accelerating me? Driver 2 hides somewhere you'd never think to look. Your neck, your thyroid. A tiny butterfly-shaped gland runs your body's energy regulation. A sluggish thyroid leaves you depressed, foggy, heavy. An overactive one leaves you wired, anxious, revved. And here's the link that matters. Thyroid problems are far more common in people who rapid cycle than in the general population. Sometimes the levels even read technically normal. But normal for the population is not the same as optimal for your brain. Lithium can affect the thyroid too. So one of the first physical checks when you're cycling fast should be a full thyroid panel. And we're not only looking for disease, we're looking for optimal function. Driver 3, with total honesty and zero judgment, alcohol, cannabis, and caffeine. When you're rapid cycling, you are in pain, and you reach for relief. Wired and anxious, a drink to come down, flattened and low, caffeine or a stimulant to climb back up. That isn't weakness, it's self-medicating to survive. But every one of these is a cycle accelerator. Alcohol wrecks the architecture of your sleep and leaves micro-withdrawals that spike your anxiety the next day. Cannabis, for some, tips into paranoia or mania. Caffeine jams the very receptors that tell your brain when to rest. Stack those chemical waves on top of your biological ones, and you get a storm no medication can steady. So the first move to slow the cycle is often to clear the board. Pull the extra variables so you and your doctor can finally see what's the illness and what's the chemistry. If you're still with me, we're right at the turning point. Because this last driver is the one you have the most direct power over starting tonight. Driver 4, the broken rhythm. Your circadian clock, the internal body clock, is often smashed in rapid cycling. Shift work, scrolling until 3 a.m., skipped meals. Every disruption sends a stress signal to a vulnerable brain, and that signal alone can trip a mood switch. It isn't glamorous, but here's the truth this whole channel is built on. Stability is boring, rapid cycling is chaos. And to fix the chaos, you have to be willing to embrace the boring. So let's get practical. How do you actually put a foot on the brake? 4 moves. Break 1, the audit. Your doctor needs data, and you're going to bring it. Draw a line across a page, mark the months of the last year, and plot your mood. Up for the highs, down for the lows. Then overlay the drivers. When did that new medication start? Mark it. The extra coffee, the breakup? Mark them. This one page turns, I feel crazy, into, here is the pattern. And it is the single most valuable thing you can hand a prescriber. If mapping that out feels like too much right now, don't worry. I share practical guides and steady advice to make exactly this easier in my weekly newsletter. It's free, and the link is in the description. And here's the exact sentence to open the conversation. Doctor, I've mapped my year, and I count more than 4 distinct episodes. I'm worried this is rapid cycling. Can we review my medications, especially any antidepressant, to see if something might be adding to the speed? That shows you're informed and looking for solutions, not just relief. Break 2, the biological anchor. You cannot will your mood steady, but you can control the inputs, and the single strongest one is your wake time. Not bedtime, wake time. The same alarm, 7 days a week, and light in your eyes the moment it goes off. That resets the master clock in your brain, and a steady clock gives your mood a chance that a chaotic one never will. Break 3, the thyroid check. Ask specifically for a full panel, TSH, T3, and T4, and ask the real question. I know these might be normal for the general population, but are they optimal for someone trying to manage rapid cycling bipolar disorder? Sometimes a small amount of thyroid support can steady the mood even when there's no full thyroid disease. It's worth exploring. I want to pause here for an important safety note. Rapid cycling is especially dangerous in the transition periods. When you're moving from depression up toward mania or crashing from mania back down, you're in a state of flux. And that's where mixed features often appear. The energy of mania fused with the hopelessness of depression. That transition zone is the highest risk time for suicide. If you ever feel that agitation, that crawling out of my skin feeling combined with dark thoughts, please take it seriously. In the US and Canada, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You are not weak for struggling with this. You are fighting a neurological storm, and you deserve support to keep you safe until the weather changes. Now, let's talk about the people who love you, because rapid cycling is exhausting for you and bewildering for them. 1 week you're fun, energetic, full of plans. The next you're a ghost who won't pick up the phone. To your partner or your friends, it can feel like whiplash, like you're flaky or like you don't care. So hand them the words. Try this. I want you to know my distance isn't about you. My brain is in a rapid cycling phase. It's like living in a house where the thermostat is broken. Sometimes I'm freezing, sometimes I'm burning up. I'm working with my doctor to fix the thermostat. Please be patient with me while I find the right setting. That one script separates you from the symptoms. It reminds them there's a mechanical problem you're actively fixing. And now, that question I asked you to hold on to at the very start. Will I be like this forever? Here is the honest answer. Usually no. Rapid cycling is very often a phase of the illness, not a permanent verdict. It tends to show up when things are untreated, or when the treatment plan needs adjusting. Pull out the Kindling. Ease off the antidepressant that's speeding you up, steady the thyroid, anchor the sleep, clear the board. And the brain very often settles down. The goal is to widen the gaps. 4 episodes a year becomes 2, then 1, then long stretches of steady. Your fear told you this was your forever. It usually isn't. Let's do a quick recap of your strategy. Define it. 4 or more full episodes a year, not daily mood swings. Check the drivers, antidepressants, thyroid, substances, rhythm. Map the timeline. Show your doctor the wave. Anchor the wake time. Reset the biological clock. And here's your homework for this 1 week, just the substance audit. For 3 days, write down what you consume. How much caffeine, and at what times? How much alcohol? Don't judge any of it. Just look at the data. If you find you're having 3 coffees after 2 p.m., that's a lever you can pull. Switch to decaf, and you might slow the cycle by 5%. And 5% is a real victory. You are not broken. You are running fast. And anything that runs fast can be slowed down with the right brakes. If this helped the speed of your own mind make sense, please subscribe. We're building a whole library of plain English guides for every part of this condition. And your next step is on your screen right now. Mixed Episodes Explained: When Mania and Depression Collide. If you're rapid cycling, you're very likely hitting mixed states. And that video hands you the specific tools for that particular kind of pain. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. And remember, you can find the breaks.